This video is brought to you as a free public service courtesy of a 3-year collaboration between Armory Center for the Arts and Pasadena Unified School District. Made possible by a grant from the U.S. Department of Education with additional support from the Clarence E. Charitable Foundation. Artful Connections with Math has been formally evaluated by CRESST, the National Center for Research on Evaluation, Standards, and Student Testing at the University of California, Los Angeles. For more Artful Connections with Math video lessons, or to learn more about professional development opportunities through Armory Center for the Arts, visit armoryarts.org/math. Thank you. Welcome to Artful Connections with Math, the art store. How do artists purchase materials and create a project? This lesson's goal is for students to create proposals, purchase materials from a classroom store based on an assigned budget amount, and create a sculpture on a foam base. Over the course of this lesson, your second and third grade students will be able to add and subtract while purchasing art supplies, create an imaginative sculpture using materials of their choosing. Third grade students will also use multiplication and division when purchasing supplies. This lesson addresses a number of Common Core standards for mathematics, as well as visual arts content standards. Visit armoryarts.org/AS1 to download a PDF of this entire lesson plan that outlines the content standards addressed, plus key vocabulary words, rubrics, and ideas for accommodations, variations, and extensions not covered in this video. For this lesson, you can use all sorts of art materials and recycled materials, whatever you have on hand. For example, watercolor sets, water cups, watercolor paper, oil pastels, temper paint, twisty wire, armature wire, clay, polystyrene packing fragments, and square foam and/or cardboard pieces for use as bases for the sculptures. Please note that the second grade lesson references artwork by Julia Haft-Candel, so foam bases and armature wire are important to that grade level. Third grade students will be looking at art by Jamie Sholnick, who uses recycled polystyrene fragments, so be sure to have some of these elements on hand for your third graders. For second graders, let's play coin grab. Player 1 grabs a handful of coins from the bag. Player 2 keeps what's left in the bag. Each player sorts their coins and fills in the worksheet accordingly. Because there is no longer the same emphasis on money in third grade curriculum, we feel that students need to have the opportunity to interact with money amounts. So, we encourage your third grade students to build their array-making skills using coins. For example, spread 8 dimes out in 2 rows with 4 coins in each row. Draw the coins, then write 2 ways you can express the total amount of coins. Also, encourage students to describe their picture using words. For example, 2 groups of 4 dimes equals 8 dimes. Next, have your students calculate the value of the money in their picture. For example, 8 dimes equals 8 multiplied by 10 cents, or 80 cents. Ask students if they can find another combination of coins that equals 80 cents, then draw that new combination in their journals. Before we open up the art store, let's access prior knowledge. Ask your students questions like, what is a budget? How can we use a budget to plan and purchase the materials we need to create our artwork? Also, review dollars and cents with your students, naming each coin and describing how they each make up parts of a dollar. Show your second grade students artwork by Julia Haft-Candel and your third graders artwork by Jamie Sholnick. Both are included in this lesson plan. Visit armoryarts.org/AS1 to download this entire lesson plan, which contains images of the artworks in this video, plus biographical information about the artists. Ask your students questions like, what do you notice about the way objects are placed? What do you notice about the color in the image? Where is the negative space in the sculpture? What do you think it's made of? How do you think the artist made these artworks? Look at the titles. What message do you think the artist was trying to convey? Give each student an art store invoice. You should modify the invoice to reflect the level of mathematical difficulty you want to present to your students. For second grade, all costs should be in whole dollars, as decimals have not been introduced yet. Your students should make at least 2 sketches of their proposed sculptural project in their journal. Then, have your students make a list of the materials they want to use and estimate how much they'll need to complete their project based on the budget they are given to work with. Demonstrate for your students how to fill out their order form. Make sure that each student knows how to add up their purchases and make change by creating a sample problem on the board. Then, demonstrate how to make a transaction at the store and have your students purchase their materials. Call students up to the store in groups. It's a good idea to limit the amount of items that can be purchased at one time. This will help keep the line of students moving and will encourage students to fill out the order form several times. When the students are ready to check out, they'll need to show the cashier the sum total of their purchases that they've worked out on their invoice, and then give the amount of money needed to the cashier. If change is needed, the student will also need to figure this out and write it on the invoice. Students may make additional trips to the store as necessary. Students who finish early may take turns playing cashier of the store. If time permits, students may start to combine and manipulate their purchased materials into a sculptural form. Store in-process projects and purchased materials in large Ziploc bags until the next session. Before we finish our sculptures, let's access prior knowledge. Ask your students questions like, what do you know about sculpture? What are some ways to transform recycled materials? Your students can now use their purchased materials to create a sculpture. You can require students to create sculptures that tie in with other content areas. You can also have your students work in groups. The art store can remain open for students to purchase additional materials as necessary. If time permits, students can make drawings of their sculpture in various angles in their journal. As an extension, you can ask students to think about how much they would sell their sculpture for. Think about the cost of materials, how much they will need to get, and how much they will need to give to their gallery or school, etc. Finished? Good. Ask your students to share and describe their sculpture with the class. Ask your students questions like, what materials did you use? How did you use your materials? What do you notice about line, shape, color, and form? Which projects from this year inspired you? What would you title this work? Thanks for joining us today. To download a PDF of this complete lesson plan, visit armoryarts.org/AS1. To make more Artful Connections with math, visit armoryarts.org/math. Thank you.